Hey, welcome back everybody. Thanks for joining our presentation. We have Associate Professor Paul Collins from Deakin University joining us. I let him introduce himself and hold his presentation.
Thanks, Rahal. I'll share my screen and we'll jump into the presentation and we'll do a bit of a walkthrough on the project. So yeah, thank you for joining me this morning over in Germany and obviously this evening here in Australia. So this project's a bit of a case study of between Deakin Uni and HiQ and how academia and industry can create great sports products. So myself, I'm an associate professor here at Deakin University in Australia. I'm a former automotive engineer, and I think that will come through in the presentation a little bit about how I think about product development and how we design products. I teach design, so I'm very passionate about teaching students on how we design good products in the future. I've been working with sport companies for about 11 years since I left the automotive sector in about 2006, 2007. And I've been working with HiQ for about 6.5, 7 years now. So it's been a really good collaboration thus far and obviously more things to come in the future. So I belong to a group called the Centre for Sport Research, and we're really focused on improving health and sport outcomes of people and organisations. So we're very community focused, so looking at not just the elite athletes, but how we impact our community around us, from school kids through to community aged care, things like that. So it's a really good group of researchers and really multidisciplinary. So if you have a look at the breadth of research we actually do, it covers things from sport health and sports development, your traditional exercise, sports science, all the way through to sports technologies, which you'll see some today. Things like inertial measurement units, biomechanics. So we do try to have that really multidisciplinary focus on how do we solve big sport problems in today's society. So the HiQ Deakin collaboration, as I said, goes back about 7 years to 2014. And we've done quite a few projects now over that span. Everything from material development and technology transfer to design and engineering and human physiological testing, which we've really been focusing on in the recent past. And the other great advantage is HiQ Australia is actually co-located on the Deakin campus in Geelong. So for those, many probably haven't seen Deakin Geelong campus, this is where we are. This is a great view. And as you can sort of see, the campus is built around some sports fields. So we've got Australian rules football in the centre there, running track, FIFA level soccer pitch, baseball, cricket, for those who know cricket is. But to give you the sort of sense of the facilities we've got, on the right-hand side, we've got the Epworth Hospital. So we actually train doctors on campus and there's a hospital literally next door. The sports science building is embedded into the centre of campus. The engineering building is just behind, material science further out. And then HiQ is actually in the back corner of the campus at the moment. As you can sort of see, we're in a pretty spacious area. We've got farmland behind us and sort of residential in front of us. So it's a really great campus, really great spot to be. For those who surf, Bells Beach is about 15 minutes down the road where the Rip Curl Pro is held every year. So there's a very big sports-centric focus for Deakin and also the local region. So let's talk about this project, Triathlon Apparel. We really put into this project, and HiQ came to Deakin to say, if we're going to design apparel for the elites, how does that look like and how do we attack the problem? So we focused on lead user analysis at the starting point. It's something I'm passionate about, is actually asking the consumer and really digging deep into the consumer insights. We looked at the differences between systems engineering, very automotive focused, to human-centric design, which is very much a common trend now. And obviously, being HiQ, we looked at intelligent surface treatments, and then we focused on the digital design engineering, the testing of textiles to make sure we are actually doing what we want to do, and then the human testing. And this was really great collaboration between HiQ, Deakin Uni, and Regna. So the first problem was, what are the problems? So we actually reached out to elite ITU athletes and we had some really great feedback. And as you can sort of see from the heat maps, we got a really good indication from the female cohort what the pain points in the challenges were in elite apparel. So these are our top athletes globally. We had a very Australian-centric approach, but we did get athletes from around the world. And we kind of just asked them, what would you change? What are the issues that you have, and kind of give us feedback on where you think the opportunities arise. So they were really generous with their time and gave us a whole heap of heat maps and insights. And then we kind of flowed into this systems engineering point of view. Okay, So triathlon's 3 sports, where 80% of the time it's running the cycling. So we're in the dry land. So we're actually worried about aerodynamics. It's dry. We're also worried about heat retention. So if we think about the Tokyo Olympics, which will be happening this year, very hot, humid environment. We're looking at 32, 33 degrees centigrade with about 60% relative humidity. So it's quite a hot, sticky environment for those competing. So we made the hypothesis as engineers, as designers, that we're going to look at aerodynamics first and then improving thermal comfort. So some of the background research we did around aerodynamics. So this is a group out of TU Delft. This group down here looking at sweat rates and where people sweat is actually from Loughborough in the UK. And this is some of my earlier work with other sports brands, looking at how we model compression, how we actually simulate and design garments in the digital workflow. But as I said, we went out and spoke to the athletes. And so one of the first things we got back from the athletes was, if I'm not in the front pack for the swim, I've lost. So we made the assumption that even though aerodynamics is the dominant form or dominant environment for cycling and running, the actual athletes were really concerned about the hydrodynamics, how they swim in the water, because they wanted to be in the front pack. So we had to balance that system engineering, so where the bulk of the effort should be, with that human-centric design and having that compromise between the two. Smart Temp was the go-to material treatment on this, and if you want to know more, definitely reach out to the HiQ team here. So as I said, Tokyo is planning on being 30 degrees, 33 degrees relative humidity for all events. So thermo-reg, keeping the core temp lower, is critical for any athlete to perform at their best, especially in the outdoor environment. So you look at running, athletics, triathlon, cycling, you name it, there's a kind of a need to keep athletes cooler for longer. And so we've seen a lot of the sports science group look at pre-cooling, post-cooling, acclimatization, and this is just another feather in the cap, so to speak, for athletes to have in their kit bag of clothing that is functional, clothing that will actively help them cool faster. So that's one of the things we wanted to sort of test in this project, is how good is the technology, and we can talk about that with the results. Of course, we focused on aerodynamics. So we've got a wind tunnel at Deakin. So we did some baseline testing, and we did against competitors. So other ITU suits around the world, we did back-to-back comparisons. We looked at the hydrodynamics of fabrics, and we also did the tensile and compression properties as well to understand how we can do that. Then we fed it into our digital design. So as I said, automotive, so background. So we really focused on how do we build products quickly, easily, get rapid iteration, get feedback from the athletes quickly. So we did a whole heap of strain mapping. We did user surveys. Every time we came up with a new design, we sent these out to the athletes and got feedback. So we were rapidly iterating before we actually built a prototype. So we probably went through 5 to 10 different iterations before we settled on our first prototype. And then comes to the interesting part, the human testing. So in the climate chamber, this is one of our first athletes, Marcel. He's testing out the HiQ Smart Temp fabric in this case. So experimental design was a climate chamber, 30 degrees, 60% relative humidity, as we discussed, very similar to Tokyo. Garment A versus Garment B. So we had the athletes wear their national kit versus the kit we provided them. And then it was almost like a HIIT, so a high intensity interval training regime. So 10 minutes steady state, 5 minutes max effort on the bike, and then same thing again on the treadmill. So very similar to what we expect in triathlon, where it's, especially ITU, where it's some steady state stuff and some interval stuff as there's surges happening in the efforts. And we measured everything we could. We measured VO2, RPE, core temp, heart rate. You can sort of see we had the thermal cameras out there to try and understand how the garment and the human interaction really play together. So the project outcomes, well, so far what we've really been able to elicit from the athletes, and we've had all the athletes in the chambers doing the testing for us, is thermal and dynamic comfort says we're actually better. So we actually scored 25% increased comfort overall for the athletes who have been testing with us. And in this image here is Ryan Fisher, 2016 Olympian, who actually rode the suit at Noosa competition in 2019 to give us actually real-time feedback. And we've also seen lower core temp. So we've actually seen the core temp of the athletes reduced compared to their other kits that they have been using. So this is a real outcome for us to say, yes, intelligent textiles, surface treatments, great design with optimized compression across the athletes really does make a difference to their comfort and also their physiological abilities. So the big take-home points from this project, we feel, are the feedback loops from the athletes. We did multiple times and we're still doing multiple feedback loops with the athletes to improve the quality of the garment, to improve the outcomes. So having that user feedback at every stage of the product development process has been exceptionally helpful. Validated and quality fabrics with functional treatments is key to any new product because it just works and we know it works. We've got the results to say it does. Optimized fit. So there's no one garment the same. So each of these garments is built for the individual athletes. So we've got quite a disparate grouping of athletes in Australia. So Marcel, who we've seen in the images, is 6'2". Ryan, who we've also seen in the images, is only 5'8". So we've got a big difference between some of these athletes. And a really big thing for me was to focus on the digital workflow to be able to realize that rapid iteration. So we've got a small video here to share with you about the entire project. So we'll play this and then.
Project a little bit, and then I reached out to see if I was able to have a suit made up, and then basically filled in measurements and everything like that, height and weight, and had a suit made up based off those, and then just had the design done with Jordan. We sort of just worked on a design and layout of all the logos and things like that, and I had a suit sent to me which I got the night before a race, and I tried it on and was happy with the fit, and yeah, used it the next day.
Even like mentally, if the suit just feels wrong, then it can just play on your mind a lot, and obviously with racing, the smallest differences make huge differences in the end, so any little bit that we can get better and do better is obviously going to be really important.
So that's the summary of the project. I'm here for any questions, but thank you very much for your attendance this evening, and look forward to interacting with you.
Okay. Thank you, Paul, for the presentation. It's really nice to see how this project has gone forward and how actually, athletes are now using it at races, etc., etc. So it brings me to the first question. These are pro athletes, they're, Olympians, etc., etc. Is this suit going to be available for the general public as well, the one that you developed at Deakin?
Definitely, that's something we're very much working on towards, is having this technology, this design out there for the general public. That's one thing we're really conscious of, is not just catering for the Olympians, because technology doesn't discriminate. It's for everyone. So yeah, really looking forward to trying to get this out to as many people as possible.
Okay, what do you think the timeline will be? I'm sure all these, age group triathletes will really be interested in that point as well.
Yeah, good question. Hopefully towards the end of 2021. A few hurdles to jump over between now and then. And look, the team at HiQ are very supportive. So I suppose watch the space, watch the HiQ website, and we'll see where we go.
Okay, next question. So this is tri-suits. Have you done any other sports gear research and launch?
The team at Deakin has definitely looked at a variety of different things. So we're definitely involved in cycling at the moment. That's definitely an area of interest. We've done surfing products in the past. We've done swimming products in the past. So there's definitely a breadth of sports. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things. But at the moment, our real big focus is on yoga and athleisure wear. We're doing that with a grouping of people, as well as cycling and triathlon are probably the three big things we're focused on at the moment at Deakin.
Okay, and next question. Are there any well-known brands that you have collaborated with in creating new products?
Yeah, so if we have a look at the slides, I'll go back slightly. I'll end that. Screen share. I'll show you. So one of the early projects I did, and happy to share this, is with Quicksilver. So this would be from about 10 years ago. So this image in the sort of the top right-hand quadrant, So this one was Quicksilver. It was a board short they released with the inner and outer about 10 years ago, as I said. It was called the Explosive Board Short, and what we did was really use digital tools to try and optimize the compression back then. We've got better digital tools now. It's a good thing. And on the sort of this left hand side of the quadrant is actually digital correlation. So that's where we're actually measuring the strain across the person in real time as opposed to the digital models. So yeah, that's definitely one thing we've worked on. It's been out in the public not so much now, but it was quite a few years ago. So that was a great one. We are working with other brands, both, but yeah, mainly focusing on, as I said, cycling, triathlon, and some yoga stuff at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, so it's running, swimming, and bicycling was the thing. Yeah. Are there any other projects that Deakin is doing with HiQ besides the triathlon one that you can talk about?
So obviously there's the material science group with Alessandra Sutti. She runs that with Murray, obviously, who do some fantastic stuff. Definitely look at the material science, such as Real Silk was a product that we worked jointly on. That was actually the first project I worked on with HiQ, was the Real Silk product back in the 2015, I think that was launched. Sorry, I have to get my dates right. And I think Zefco has a little bit to do with Deakin as well. I'm not involved with that one, so I can't talk too much because I just don't have the knowledge, but I'm pretty sure that's involved with Deakin as well.
Okay, so quite a rich collaboration between the universities with HiQ Australia, even on campus, you might say.
Yeah, it's actually a real benefit having that co-location of industry and academia because, you know, as Murray Height is the person here in Australia, and obviously there's some manufacturing facilities at the Deakin campus as well. So having that interaction with Murray between Alessandra and myself and others is really important because we do get that cross collaboration. Myself from the design and engineering side, Alessandra from the material science. She's an amazing polymer chemist. And then also you've got like Murray, who's got that really good interaction space and collaboration space between the HiQ brand and the Deakin brands.
Is there a website where people can keep updated on what projects you have going on?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's the CSR website, which I listed before. So if you just Google Deakin CSR, it's a good one. For Alessandra, it's definitely Deakin IFM. So just Google IFM. And also the HiQ website's got some nice interaction points with Deakin as well. So yeah, you can definitely jump on those. Probably 3 locations are probably the best.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation and the answers. This presentation can next week, we will upload this to the hiq.com website so people can also watch there or sign up to receive the viewing link. Thank you very much. We'll close this presentation now. You have another one coming up tomorrow, so see you back then. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rahul. Thanks, Tony.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Bye-bye.